In this video, I'm going to be going through the AI section part of the assignment. We were tasked to create a simple AI that did certain movements such as crouch, uncrouch, rotate 180 degrees, and then move 600 units. To achieve this, we just had to create some simple elements here in Unreal Engine 4, such as the behavior tree, the blackboard, controller blueprints. I'm going to go through every single one of these very quickly to show what they pretty much do. This over here is the AI blueprint, which is a character blueprint. All I had to do here was put a simple character mesh, the UE4 mannequin, into this capsule. Initially, the AI BP, the mannequin, obviously will be T-posing, so you do have to give him an animation blueprint, which is one that we create on our own, is the AI AnimBP. I'm going to go through this in a second. After giving this to him, you do have to also give him the AI controller blueprint, which is what is going to control him. So once you go on the self over here on the bottom right of pawn, it'll say AI controller class. We have to create the blueprint for that. This blueprint is pretty much just saying to run the behavior tree and run the tasks that I'm going to be giving him. In our behavior tree over here, which is pretty much an asset in Unreal Engine 4 that is used for non-player characters such as artificial intelligence, this is what I use to give the artificial intelligence certain tasks and the task that we were asked to give him. So the move forward, which is pretty much a task, a custom task that we had to make on our own that is used to find the forward position of the artificial intelligence. Once the forward position is found, it is given off as a vector in the blackboard of the behavior tree, so it is a vector next position. Once the behavior tree finds the next position, it will move to it. It'll then wait 1 second, which is something that comes off the sequence. You could just wait and then change the timer here. It'll then do the crouch task that I created on my own. So the crouch task, I'll move into the AI animation blueprint. Similar to the isHurt and the dead function from the player blueprint, it'll cast to the AI animation blueprint here, and it'll check if the AI blueprint is crouched. In the AI blueprint, there's just a crouch variable right over here. That crouch variable is then linked to a task in the behavior tree, and this task is called upon when the AI blueprint is crouched. Once he is crouched, it'll finish the execute, so it's pretty much going to finish that task and then move on to the next task, which is wait. After that next task is done, it'll rotate 180 degrees. This is pretty much the rotation task that's going to get the player's rotation and turn him 180 degrees. Once that is done, it'll then go on to the wait, and the uncrouch is basically the crouch being set to false. It'll then wait 1 second and then go back to the beginning, which is finding the next vector and moving 600 units. Very quickly, the way I executed the 600 units and getting the AI to move forward and actually going into the jog animation, I did have to get the velocity, which is pretty much the speed of the character of this AI blueprint, and then getting his active forward vector. I only have to get the forward vector because he's only moving in that one direction, which is straight and then backwards, so he's always going forward pretty much. The vector length is pretty much going to determine the length of the vector, which is 600 units in our case. That then sets the speed of our character. I then set it to 5. So in our conditions for our state machine, for him to enter the jog forward animation, the speed has to be higher than 1, which happens when he moves forward. So it's going to be higher than 0, it's going to go to 1. And then for him to go back to the idle animation, he'll have to be less than 5. So he stops, and that happens when he goes into the crouch and then uncrouch, then the rotate. So his speed is pretty much at 0. All in all, the way this works is with the behavior tree and all these custom tasks, the behavior tree does also need the blackboard, which is pretty much the brain that stores these certain variables that the behavior tree will then read. After setting these variables and these tasks in your behavior tree, all that's left to do is put them in a sequence according to whatever behavior you want the AI to perform. So in our case, it was the move forward, the crouch, uncrouch, the rotate 80. You could actually, so when you play it, you'll see it firing off in the order that we were asked to give it. So moving to the next position, waiting, crouching, waiting, uncrouching, and then moving forward again. The crouch animation also happens in the AIBP, so when the crouch becomes true, it goes to the idle stand to crouch. From the stand to crouch, it goes to the crouch idle, and then crouch to stand, and then back all the way to the idle. One thing that I did forget to mention was the nav mesh bounds volume. So this is a volume that is placed into your level. That is a navigation mesh that is basically going to allow your AI to know where it's able to move. So when you put this down and press P, there will be the green zone, and that will allow your artificial intelligence to know where it's able to move. Without putting this down, your AI just won't move at all. So definitely gonna need to put this in a level.